The Joe Rogan Experience.
There's been many instances of sightings off the coast of California of things that plunge into the water or escape from the water and take off into space.
So
yeah, with the field propulsion system, as Commander Fravor is describing, as Lazar described, it doesn't matter the medium of space, air, or water. There's no resistance, no splash. I mean, this goes back to, when Christopher Columbus reported a UFO sighting.
He did?
Oh, yeah. This idea... So this has been around. Anyway, this idea, boom, that you can go through these different mediums.
Pause for a second. Christopher Columbus had a UFO sighting?
Yeah, it's a written account, so it's like
find that.
No video.
It's not going to be
no video.
This is bullshit. I'm
shocked.
But
it's bullshit. Then.
Well, see, but that's what's so cool. So Commander Fravor's encounter, it's not the most documented. It's not the most dramatic. However, it has had the most impact out of any sighting because of his credibility and the mere fact that the New York Times picked it up with video footage, radar evidence, and somebody who is as credible as Commander Fravor. It has changed the dynamic of the way the government responds. New Navy protocols because of Commander Fravor coming forward. There are closed-door congressional and Senate briefings. He's been part of them. He's admitted that before. There's a new study about UFOs because of this encounter. It's so much evidence, has so much power to it compared to other ones. So Christopher Columbus, great, cool story. Somebody wrote it down. Who knows if he even wrote it down? We have highly documented cases. This one has changed our culture. And that's what's so cool. People are talking about it differently.
So this is a good story. This is true. So I was sitting at home, and usually when people try and find me, they get my wife's cell phone because it's the first one on the cell phone bill, and it's all in my name. So I see this call from California, and I'm like, and normally I don't answer them, and it's her phone. I'm like, who's calling my wife? Because that is me. So I answer it, and this lady says, hey, is Commander Fravor there? And I go, who's calling? And she goes, well, I'd like to talk to Commander Fravor. I go, who's calling? And she says, hi, I'm a 79-year-old woman, and I would just like to tell him my story. I go, well, you're talking to him. And she goes, I've never in my life told anyone this. She goes, I grew up, my dad was in the Navy. She goes, he was stationed in Rhode Island at first when she was a child. She said, we were walking, her and her mom were walking on the beach, and they saw these weird lights. So that kind of got her into that, UFOs. She goes, a few years later, they had moved to San Francisco. So I imagine Treasure Island, because at her age, that would have been, probably in the 50s. She said her dad was working as a Navy liaison to the agency. And he came home one day and he had a telegram in his hand. And she goes, for some reason, he let me read it. She's telling me this story. And I said, well, what did it say? She says it basically said, hey, unidentified objects going in and out of the water, and it had a latitude and longitude in it. And he looked at her, she goes, and I'm a child, and I always remember this. She says, he looked at me and said, we get these all the time, and it's always in the same area. And I go, of course, well, you got the telegram? She goes, of course not. He had to take it back to work. I said, you don't have to remember that latitude, longitude. She said, no. She goes, but you seem to be so credible and believable. She goes, I wanted to tell someone the story that I've never told anyone in my life. So that's what you're starting to see is people that, very credible. They're not, they're not crazy. They're not making stuff up, but they're coming out and going, hey, I've had these experiences. And I've got a lot of that from over the last 2 years where people just find my email and send me stuff saying, hey, this happened to me, or I saw this. And there's some things that are explainable because I got asked to tell this. So, because I have a sick sense of humor at times. So, like I said, I had all these quals. So we used to fly, they don't do it right now because it's a little bit dangerous, but we used to fly night vision goggles, low altitude in Hornets, right? So when you put on night vision goggles, they amplify light like a lot. So you can see a campfire like 50 miles away. So we used to do it. The good spots were down in like El Centro, California. There's a range that there's some bombing ranges, but people go camping in the Superstition Mountains, which is kind of north and west of Imperial by, I forget what it is, the Springs. It's real pretty in the desert. It'll come to me in a minute. So we would go out at night flying around on goggles, and you'd see a campfire, and you go, oh, UFO time. And then you get the airplane going about 600 knots, and then you pull the power back to idle. So you can't hear it. And you get zinging towards the fire. Well, you turn the lights are all down because we're in restricted areas, so we can do that. And there's lights on it that you can only see if you're on night vision goggles. So the other airplanes can see us, but no one else can see us. Then you go zinging at it, And then right when you get to the campfire, you pull the airplane into the vertical, you stroke the afterburners, you let them light off, you count to 3, you pull them off, and then you just go away. Instant UFO reporting. I'm sitting out in the desert, it's all quiet, and then all of a sudden there's a lure, there's lights in the sky, and they go away and it's gone.
The campfire's out.
You would do that just to fuck with campers?
Yes.
How rude.
Yes. Yes, I did. I'm not the only one that did it, but like I said, we have a sick sense of humor.
Yes, I'm
so,
sure.
So some things are explainable because I guarantee there were phone calls made on some of the stuff that we did.
And I guarantee you're not the only one who's ever done that.
Oh, I know I'm not. Yeah, I'm not that creative, but it's just, you think about it and you go, because people go, I saw this or I saw that because I've got stuff like that. And I go, yeah, I used to create stuff like that, just not tell it.